Get real close to the mic. Thanks, man. When I was in my early 20s, I was living on the Lower East Side of Manhattan and dating a woman who lived on Staten Island. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with New York City, its geography, its transportation opportunities, it's not easy getting from the Lower East Side of Manhattan to Staten Island unless you have a car. I didn't have a car. So to visit this woman, I had to take a bus, transfer to another bus, take the Staten Island ferry across a body of water, get on a train 5 or 6 stops, and then walk 5 or 10 minutes to her apartment. I guess I liked her. I don't know what to say. So one night I'm at her place in far distant Staten Island, and we're watching some movies on VHS videotape, by the way. This story takes place quite a few years ago. And she's trying to convince me to spend the night. Now, when I was younger, I was kind of stubborn and set in my ways. I liked my plans and my ideas. And my plans for that night was to go home in my own apartment, go to bed, wake up in my own place, and have a day to myself. So, not really considering her feelings, I say, no thanks, I'm gonna go. So I walk to the train, take the train to the Staten Island ferry, across a body of water, take a bus to a bus, and get to my apartment building. And my apartment building is one of several buildings around a courtyard in the complex I lived in. And I go to unlock my front door, and I realize I can't unlock my front door because I don't have my keys. Where are my keys? Oh my God, my keys are in Staten Island. So I buzz my next door neighbor, and she lets me up, and we share a fire escape. So I go onto the fire escape to the kitchen window, which I hope is, nope, it's locked, can't get in that way. So I go to the edge of the fire escape, and I lean over, and my bathroom window is open, and the light is on, so I can see in my apartment. I just can't quite reach the window to get in my apartment, and my neighbor sees me hanging off the fire escape, and she's yelling, and she's like, "What are you doing? Be careful, you're gonna fall." And I yell back, "I'm not gonna fall, I'm just trying, don't worry." But all of this yelling raises the suspicion of the security guard who patrols the area, and he looks up and sees this guy hanging off the fire escape. "What are you doing up there?" And I'm like, no, I live here. I'm just locked out. And the neighbor is yelling, "It's okay, he lives here, but he's gonna fall, watch out." I'm like, "I'm not gonna fall." And there's all this kerfuffle on the fire escape, so fine. I go back inside and I call my girlfriend and I say, "Hey, I forgot my keys." And she says, "Hey, I know they're right here." And I say, "Okay, here I come." So I take a bus to the Staten Island ferry, across a body of water to a train. In 5 or 10 minutes, I walk to her place and I get the keys, and she says, "Now, come on, seriously, it's after midnight. Just spend the night." It's a reasonable thing to say. But of course, now I'm like, even more so. I've gone through this entire journey. I can't wait to go home. This is my plan. This is what I want to do. And she's not going to argue with me because I sound like a crazy person at this point. So I leave and I walk to the train and take the train to the ferry and the water and the bus to the bus, and I get to my apartment building, and now I can unlock the door and go inside and crash on my bed and go to sleep. So I wake up the next morning, and it's a fresh start. It's a new day. Let's have a new attitude, you know what I mean? So I think, what am I going to do with my day? Well, the first thing I should probably do is return those VHS videotapes to the video store. Remember the video store? So, okay, where are the VHS videotapes? I don't see the VHS. Oh my God, I left the VHS videotapes at her apartment. So I call her on the phone and I say, "You're not going to believe this, but I left the movies at your apartment." And she says, "No, you didn't. My apartment's only so big, they're not here." Which means on one of the 3 trains or 3 ferries or 6 buses, I lost the VHS videotapes. So I call the video store and I say, "Hey, just wondering, for asking for a friend, what would happen if somebody lost one of your movies?" And they say, "Well, it depends on the movie." And I say, "Well, let's hypothetically speaking say it was the 1970s rock musical Hair," because it was. And they say, "Well, that's a pretty rare movie, and that would cost," and they quote me, I forget the figure, but it was like ridiculous. It was like hundreds of dollars, and I'm young and I have no money and I don't want to hear that. So I hang up the phone and I collapse on the bed. And now I'm just pouting and like kicking my feet. And my phone rings. And I pick up the phone, and the other person says, "Is this Joe Charnitski?" And I say, "Yes, it is." And he says, "I think I have some movies that belong to you." And I'm like, "Oh, stranger, you found my movies. This is great. Where are you? How can I come get them?" And he says, "Well, no, I got to tell you a story." Okay. And he says, "I was at my friend's apartment last night in Lower Manhattan. We were having dinner, and he was bragging to me about how he just bought this brand new, state-of-the-art, high-technology DVD player. And he wanted to get rid of his VCR, and he was going to give it to me. And I was excited. I don't have a VCR, so I'm carrying this VCR to the bus stop. And I'm thinking, it's great, I have this VCR. I wish I had some movies to watch. So I sit in my seat in the bus, and I put my feet under the seat, and I kick something, and I reach down, and I feel a bag of VHS videotapes. And I've always wanted to see Hair. And I said, are you telling me I forgot my keys in Staten Island so you could see Hair? And he said, I guess so. And I said, that's fantastic. And let me tell you, I've mellowed over the years. I think I've matured. I'm not as stuck in my ways. I'm not as stubborn and passionate about my plans. I've learned to live life on life's terms a little bit, because you never know where the road or the train tracks or the ferry ride might take you. So nowadays I say, Joe, relax. Enjoy the ride. You might get a good story out of it. Thank you.